What's happening, musical sophisticates? Trumpeter Bobby Spellman here to welcome you to another exciting episode in our transcription series. In this leg of the series, we are talking about one of my favorite trumpet players of all time, the great Kenny Dorham. In last week's episode, we covered Kenny's tune, Prince Albert, from the album The Jazz Messengers Live at the Cafe Bohemia. And this week, it's springtime in New York, and we are going to cover a great Kenny Dorham tune, Blue Spring, from his album of the same name. Blue Spring was recorded in January and February of 1959, and features Cannonball Adderley on alto saxophone, in addition to a septet that playing some great arrangements of Kenny Dorham tunes and others. All of them are spring themed, so check out this album if you're trying to get in the spring mood these days. Now's the time, so check out this record. This tune is entitled Blue Spring, and it features KD playing some really amazing blues language and some really great altered sounds, tritone substitutions, and things of that nature. So I'm excited to show it to you. We're going to have some fun checking it out and talking about some of the theory behind this solo on this exciting episode of Theory with Bob. All right, on last week's episode on Prince Albert from 1955, we covered Kenny Dorham's ingenious approach to bebop language, including his use of the altered scale on dominant chords, chromatic approach notes, and things of that nature. Now we fast forward 4 years in Kenny Dorham's career, bringing us to early 1959, where he's playing with his own septet, including the great alto saxophonist Cannonball Adderley. Here on this track, we find Kenny Dorham really embracing the blues sound, using a lot of really exciting rhythmic approaches, what with triplets and 16th notes, as well as taking his advanced harmonic approach to its maximum degree. Now, I will be discussing this solo in concert pitch so that everybody can follow along, but if you're playing a B-flat or an E-flat instrument and you want to check it out in your own key, you can find a link in the description below to PDFs of the solo in concert B-flat or E-flat, so you can follow along yourself. All right, gang, without further ado, here it is, Kenny Dorham's great solo on Blue Spring. All right, and there you have it. 3 great choruses on the blues by Kenny Dorham. This is his original tune, Blue Spring. He recorded at least 3 versions of this tune between October of 1958 and November of 1959. The first recording I know of was titled Shifting Down, and it was originally on a Cecil Taylor recording entitled Stereo Drive, which was then re-released under John Coltrane's name as Coltrane Time. That was recorded in October of 1958. We fast forward to February of 1959, and Kenny Dorham records it again, called now Blue Spring, on the album of the same name. That's what we're talking about right now. And then fast forward a couple of months to November of 1959, and Kenny Dorham records his great album, Quiet Kenny. We'll talk about that on later episodes. And he then also records this tune, Blue Spring. It's a very simple blues head, but the reason I'm talking about it now is because the melody of the tune really gives a little insight into the way that Kenny Dorham is going to play this solo. So I'm going to play the main motive that serves as the foundation for the melody of Blue Spring. And it goes like this. So throughout the melody, Kenny's using that blues scale sound, and sure enough, at the beginning of his solo, he is going to utilize the F blues scale, and it sounds like this. Great down-home, no-nonsense, triplety blues scale approach to the beginning of his solo. Amazing start, but if you were just thinking you were getting comfortable in this blues scale world, Kenny Dorham pulls some wild stuff out of left field and plays the following phrase to lead us, create a little tension to lead us into the 4 chord. And it sounds like this. Woo! All right, that's a great phrase by Kenny Dorham, creating a little tension to resolve to the B-flat 7 chord. One thing that I've often said is that Kenny Dorham really seems to have paved the way for a lot of the more modern inside-outside players of the 60s. I don't know to what degree he directly influenced a lot of these musicians, and I suspect very much that, based on my understanding, Kenny Dorham was not a big fan of the avant-garde. But when I hear people like Woody Shaw play inside and outside of the changes, it often makes me think of Kenny Dorham really paving the way for those musicians. Now, Kenny Dorham always had his roots in bebop, but the farther out he takes these chords, the closer we get to what would later become inside-outside playing. So there seems to be, in my mind, a connection between the two. Now, in this instance, Kenny Dorham is using a little technique that I'd like to talk about now that you may or may not be familiar with, and it is called tritone substitution. Now, I can probably make a whole video on this, but I'm going to give you the little Cliff Notes version right now. Tritone substitution goes a little something like this. If you have a dominant chord and you're composing a piece, you are, at certain times, if it's tastefully done, able to replace that dominant chord with another dominant chord a tritone away. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say we're in the key of B flat and we're going to do a 2-5-1 in B flat major. So we start with a C minor 7, going to F7, resolving to B flat major 7. I could take the 5 chord, the F7, and replace it with another dominant chord, a tritone away, in this case B7. And that would sound a little something like this. C minor 7, B7, B flat major 7. Now, that's a very common approach in composition, but it can also be used in improvisation. In this case, it looks to me as though Kenny Dorham is playing a B mixolydian sound over that F7 chord. That sounds a little something like this. And that's going to resolve delightfully to that B flat 7 chord in the 5th bar of the form. Now, one of the things, there's a big relationship between the tritone substitution approach and what otherwise would be conventional to play over the 5 chord in this context, which is the altered scale. So let's say, for example, you take the B mixolydian scale and you add to it a sharp 4. That gives you B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A, and B. Now, if you were to start that same scale on F, now that gives you the F altered scale. So it's difficult to say exactly whether he was thinking of the F altered scale or whether he was thinking of the B mixolydian sound creating that tritone substitution. And I think they could probably be argued either way. The only reason that I think that he's thinking of it as a tritone substitution and he's playing that B mixolydian sound over there is because he seems to approach that particular phrase with an F sharp minor triad. So he starts off with this. That F sharp minor 7 triad, and then that leads him to what then becomes a B mixolydian sound. Then, at the end of the measure, he starts to throw in this sort of B mixolydian, but with a sharp 5 sound in there, with the G natural. So once again, I'll play it for you real quick. It sounds like this. And that G natural and the A natural surround the A flat that he eventually resolves to on the B flat 7 chord. All right, gang, so that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. The reason I made such a big deal out of that and I spent so much time on that tritone substitution / altered approach right now is that this comes up a lot in the solo. So now you are primed. You are primed for the other instances of where that comes up. Now, after blowing our minds for one measure, resolving to that B flat 7, Kenny Dorham goes back to playing just some down-home, no-nonsense blues scale. Sounds a little something like this. Woo! Right back to the blues. Come on, Kenny. Crushing it. All right, and then over the 2-5-1 that makes up the turnaround, he's playing some really conventional F major kind of blues sound. Ends that chorus beautifully. So the theme of this, I'm going to give you a couple of themes here. Number one is his use of the blues scale, especially in the first 4 bars of the form, or maybe 3 bars of the form and on the 4 chord. Then, every chance he gets, he will use that either tritone substitution or altered sound to transition from the 5th bar, the 4th bar of the form into the 4 chord. So the last bar of the 1 chord into the 4 chord. He's always going to use that altered sound or the tritone substitution to resolve to that B flat 7. So once again, we find ourselves now in the second chorus, and he starts off with a very conventional blues scale sounding phrase. He then follows that with another version of the same motif. Now from here, this brings us to the 4th bar of the form once again in the second chorus, and Kenny Dorham does not disappoint. He throws in once again the sound of that B mixolydian kind of sound, or arguably the F altered sound. It goes like this. Woo! What a beautiful way to resolve to that B flat 7 chord. Once again, creating that additional tension that resolves to that B flat 7. Beautiful. Once again, once he's there, he's incorporating not only the blues scale, but some trumpet effects, the half valve effect, which gives it a certain vocal quality. Sounds like this. And again, ends with the turnaround on a very conventional bluesy phrase. Once again, using the blues scale to great effect. Now, as a brief aside, I often tell my students that the blues scale is to be treated carefully. It is almost like a spice in that if you use it correctly, it really is a delightful thing, but oftentimes students new to improvisation will overuse the blues scale, and then it really loses its effect. But in this case, Kenny Dorham is mixing the blues scale with the mixolydian sound in a way that really is a beautiful effect. And he also contrasts that blues sound with the altered sound on the, leading into the 4 chord, which is really a delightful thing. All right, so he carries on once again back to the 1 chord, and he's got another bluesy phrase using these triplets. He's swinging. Everybody's really swinging on this. He's using those triplets. Sounds like this. Then from there, once again, in dramatic fashion, Kenny Dorham is going to throw in a bunch of 16 notes, and you guessed it, little tritone substitution sound goes like this. Now, up until this point in the phrase, he's just playing chromatic approaches to the chord tones on an F7 chord. Now, in many ways, just like I think that Kenny Dorham really paved the way for people like Woody Shaw to be able to play inside and outside of the chords, his use of those chromatic neighbor approaches really sort of foreshadows the way that Miles Davis would play in the 60s. But in that case, Miles was really taking it out. Kenny is just embellishing the notes in the scale. So once he gets through that little phrase, now we get this. Woo, what an amazing phrase. Now that not only covers the B mixolydian sound using the G flat as well as the E flat, etc., and sort of implying a little bit of an F sharp minor to B7 sound, but it also is just an absolutely perfect little bebop phrase resolving to the 7th of B flat 7. Kenny Dorham, of course, being a consummate bebop musician, that music is in his soul. All right, so we go on from there. He plays some 16th note lines, playing through the B-flat Mixolydian sound. That brings us back to a beautiful little ending on the F7. All right, now we're back in that just standard Mixolydian bluesy sound on F. And then Kenny Dorham plays some 16th note, just straight bebop, no funny business. Being able to navigate the whole horn, and it's great. Some chromatic enclosures, things of that nature. I'm going to let Kenny play it for you. It sounds like this. And that makes way for Cannonball's great solo following it up. Now, playing with Cannonball Adderley, of course, Cannonball Adderley is one of the great blues saxophone players of all time, and the way that he would incorporate that into his playing is legendary. So Kenny Dorham, really had to bring it on this to bring that blues vibe to this tune, and he sure did. He did not disappoint. All right, gang. So there you have it. There's a lot of triplets in there. Kenny Dorham has I didn't even mention this, but Kenny Dorham's sound is astounding. His approach to articulation is very unique. You can hear Kenny Dorham, hear 3 notes by Kenny Dorham, and you're going to know exactly who you're dealing with. And his approach to playing the harmonies is super clever, and he's able to blend that bluesy sound and the blues scale and the blues inflections with this super advanced harmonic approach to leading into those 4 chords and elsewhere. All right, gang, so I hope you had some fun with that. That is Kenny Dorham's solo on Blue Spring from the album of the same name. Next week, we are going to do another Kenny Dorham solo. I got a couple in the bag, all right, gang? So if you want to check that out, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support what we're doing here, you can find us on Patreon, where I will be putting up exercises that I pull from these transcriptions, as well as outtake videos and extended transcription analysis videos and things of that nature. So you can find it down here. Big thanks to all the people who've subscribed to the Patreon and supported the creation of new videos like this one. All right, gang, I hope you liked that one. Have a good time practicing this stuff, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.
Theory with Bob.
All right, friends, thanks so much for checking out this video. We hope it helps in your quest for the majesty of musical self-expression. If you like what we're doing here, you can give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. And if you'd like to support the creation of new videos like this, you can become a subscriber on our Patreon page at patreon.com/Ridgewood School of Music. There, subscribers will have access to more in-depth follow-up videos, as well as solo transcriptions, various musical exercises, and all kinds of fun stuff. If you'd like to follow me on my musical adventures, you can find me on Instagram at Bob Spellman, and you can follow the Ridgewood School of Music's other social media pages by following the links in the description below. The Ridgewood School of Music is currently accepting new students online or in person in the New York City area. If you're interested in lessons, you can find us at www.ridgewoodschoolofmusic.com, or you can send us an email at ridgewoodschoolofmusic@gmail.com, and we can set you up with a great teacher for the instrument and the style of music that you're interested in studying. All right, gang, well, have a wonderful time practicing, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya. All right, there you have it. 3 ingenious solo...